CYSCOE started as a joint initiative of the private, public and academic environment that took advantage of the opportunity offered by cybersecurity issues today. The high potential that Romania has in this field must be transformed into a real capability, this being possible only through a wide association of the main actors in the cybersecurity market at regional level. CYSCOE cluster is a reaction and an opportunity to a growing market, where companies must efficiently exploit research results, where institutional and business actors must be both beneficiaries and contributors. The increasing systemic pressure of cybersecurity risks at national level has led to the need for the responsible national central institutions to be supported by as many economic, research and educational organizations as possible, in the form of structured and regulated collaboration mechanisms. Because we live in a responsible society, we generate cybersecurity cluster of excellence. We are different member here, with different skills brought by each one, with offensive and defensive cybersecurity capabilities, artificial intelligence threat analysis, disinformation prevention, intel cyber threat intelligence, secure software development and much more. We have launched a series of innovative projects such as Cyber Awareness Educational Project for public institutions, anti-disinformation using artificial intelligence, advanced research and development for the of new cyber technologies. All those interested in cybersecurity can join the cluster, because determination and a high degree of interest will define our activity in the future. CYSCOE, Cybersecurity Cluster of Excellence.
Hi everyone, this is Felix. I'm representing CYSCOE. We are the Cybersecurity Cluster of Excellence from Romania. And today we have the fourth edition of our podcast. And we have a special invitation for somebody that has worked practically in cyber intelligence and has accepted to give us a few insight into what the cyber intelligence work is. So today we have an invitation for Juan Ignacio Nicolossi Baeza, who is the former Chief of Cyber Intelligence and Cyberoperations of the Ministry of Interior and Public Security of Chile, and a current professor of cybersecurity at University de los Andes in Chile. He has significant experience in the cyber intelligence world, so we wanted to have a discussion with him to understand how is the cyber intelligence phenomenon look like in Chile, what are the connections maybe with the cyber intelligence industry in Romania as well, or also in the global industry, and how can this phenomenon affect all of us. So I would like to extend my large thank you for Juan Ignacio, because he accepted to come to this podcast to speak about a subject that is not very much discussed into the real world, because of course there are a lot of sensitivities associated with this. There is a lot of secrecy in the cyber intelligence world. So I would like to extend my big thank you to Juan Ignacio, and just maybe to start with a very general question for the people that do not actually understand the cyber intelligence industry, to explain to us what does actually cyber intelligence mean.
Hi, Felix. Thanks for having me today. Thanks for everybody that is listening today. It's not a complex subject, considering it's probably the oldest art in cyberspace that exists, but we need to justify that kind of claim. At a certain point, cyber intelligence, we can define it on an academic level as part of the process to get information from cyberspace in order to continue the process of decision making. Okay, where those decisions are made for businesses, private sector, public security, intelligence, or defense, whatever, the process is the same. The technique is the same. It's about capturing information from cyberspace in order to be able to make decisions. That's the core of the concept. Okay, So if we go back to the basis of the concept of intelligence, where we can go back all the way to Sherman Kent, and grabbing from him, we get that intelligence, it's manifested in three ways, okay? First of all, as a product. What's a product? Is the product of intelligence is basically the document, we call it, the appreciation, where it comes the appreciation, the analysis of the requirement being asked to the group of analysts, in this case from an intelligence perspective. That document will enclose all the subject, the objective, the analysis, the appreciation, and all the background that enclose a case or a requirement made from either an authority or a management person in area executive level, usually in the private sector. Secondary, we can find intelligence being concept as an institution. Okay, in this case, Kant referred to institutionalization of intelligence as one, you got the intelligence community, that it's everybody else works in different intelligence services, but it's a little bit bigger also because there are analysts, agents, also that whether from the academic perspective or as consultancy, they still part of the community. Probably you heard once an agent, always an agent. Well, it goes like that. Where you've been 5 minutes in an intelligence services or your entire life, once you're there, you never go out. Your opinions, the way your mind works, it's gonna always be there for your own service, the service of the team you're working, depending on the area you are, or for the community in general. And also you get the institutions that are proper intelligence services, where you get to share information sometimes and collect information from other agencies. In the case of Chile, it's called the intelligence state system. Okay. In the US, you can see almost 30 agencies in this whole system. And then you got the institution per se, that is the institution in charge of intelligence. In this case, Sherman was part of the CIA, so he was referring to institution of the CIA. On a third level, we're talking about intelligence as the art of intelligence, the art of grabbing information, dividing that information between useful and unuseful information, being able to focus that in through a process of analysis that goes to answer questions made for, again, an authority, but it talks about the techniques. It's the finesse that you require as an agent in order to get that information and trespasses for analysis. So taking into account these three versions of what intelligence is, according to a classic like Kant, we can now jump to cyber. What is cyber intelligence? It's basically the application of those three concepts based on the capture and manipulation or understanding of information captured from cyberspace for the protection of national security or the assets of a private company, for example. On the other, it goes the other way around. Information and analysis of information capture in physical space and how it affects on cyberspace level. Okay, so intelligence got this, and cyber intelligence especially, got this beautiful mix between physical world and cyberspace working. You need to have one feeding one in the others. You're not able to do cyber intelligence if you just by staying behind your screen. So that makes it pretty dynamic. So when we go down to the fact of a concept and a strict academic angle, we will find the core that we just talked about, but I would like to give a couple of examples of definitions that you might find. So in this case, will be I'm just going to mention them, but for example, NATO. You go to a webpage of NATO, you ask on the terminology, um, on their cyber terminology webpage is nso.nato.int, NATO terms/web. You can find it there, and you type down cyber intelligence where it is united or separated, and you're not going to find. There's no definition. We're talking NATO. We're talking NATO. No definition in the terminology. Nothing. Okay. So let's jump to what a normal person would do. Let's Google it. Okay. Let's Google cyber intelligence. So I Google and I took maybe 3 of the top mentionings. Of course, it's going to be a first mention that it's people asks, and it's what means cyber intelligence. And then it gives, this is from the US Naval War College, one definition, and it says cyber intelligence can be defined as tracking, analyzing, and countering of digital security threats. This type of intelligence is a mixture of physical espionage and defense with more information technologies. Okay, it's a good definition. I find it, at least it takes from the core of what it comes with the mixture of physical and cyberspace. Okay, so that's the US Naval War College. We can make another jump to another definition, and we will go to Europol. Okay, Europol will tell us that cyber intelligence involves collecting information on cybercrime from a widely array of public, private, and open source, and the processing and analyzing of that information. The objective is to enrich and expand the sort of law enforcement data, thus help make fight against cybercrime as effective as possible. Okay, here we go. International police. We're talking about police here. In the case of Europol, that associate the notion of cyber intelligence strictly to the fight against cybercrime, and we get basic structure. You can see in the webpage a lot of OSINT, as we call it, open source intelligence, and it is part of that. But it doesn't mention the next between one and the other when it comes to where does this involve. It just talks generally, whether it's cybercrime in cyberspace per se, or the prosecution in physical space. Finally, we can just go to Easy Console. Okay, Easy Console, when you put cyber intelligence, they will put like immediately they will jump into what I consider to be a misunderstanding of the phenomenon, that it's, you ask about cyber intelligence and they go with cyber threat intelligence. Threat intelligence, it ain't the same as cyber intelligence. Threat intelligence is part of cyber intelligence, but are not the same. Okay, cyber intelligence is way beyond threat intelligence, and we can see threat intelligence being defined over here. Threat intelligence is the analysis of data using tools, techniques, generating meaningful information about existing emerging threats, targeting the organization that helps mitigate that risk. Okay. We all know as part of technical groups, especially when you're talking about CERT teams, SOCs, whatever, they tend to work a lot in the concept of threat intelligence, whether it is exchanging IOC, talking with other companies or making their networks in order to be able to know what's coming in front of them and preparing for that. Okay, so those are 3 notions of cyber intelligence that we can take pretty easily just Googling cyber intelligence. Okay, but I do not use those terms. Why? Well, basically because a natural thing that happens also in cybersecurity within this entire environment is the fact that the more people you ask what cybersecurity is, the more definitions you're going to get. It's impressive. It's impressive. People that work in the area are not able to quote a definition of what cybersecurity is. Not even the UN has a definition. No, it's kind of complicated. So you're always trying to hold and justify where you got that idea or that notion of cybersecurity. Well, the same happens with cyber intelligence. So between 2011 and 2014, there was this academic effort between Russia and the United States in a sort of diplomatic bilateral understanding where both military, academic, former military from both sides work in what it will become a document that is called Critical Terminology Foundations of Cyberspace. In my entire career, it's by far the best dictionary terminology arrangement that I have ever seen. Why? Basically because it's able to define complex concepts in just one phrase. That's what you expect of a definition. One phrase, objective structure in order to be able to refer to a subject. So we'll be linking and giving you all the documents in the case of the Critical Terminology Foundation for people that if they want, they can just download it and use that as their base dictionary when they're talking about their own jobs mostly. Why I recommend it? Experience is one thing, but I want to be honest. When the two biggest guys in the room decide what is, it is.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of, at least for my taste, it's kind of it doesn't add value if you keep trying to research or do definition and keep that conversation when the two biggest actors in the entire world already had the discussion, actually put it on paper. Just jump on that rail. Specifically for an academic point of view, when you actually research the terminology that they put it, and it actually makes sense. It says a lot of the same things that other dictionary says when it comes to taxonomy and everything, but the way it phrases, just one phrase in order to be able to give you an answer, that's unique. So I insist, from a professional perspective, academic perspective also, I definitely recommend at least reading this and having it under your and in your back pile of reinforcement. So I'll be reading the definition of cyber intelligence in this case. So cyber intelligence is information of value, okay, collected and processed through cyber operations. Nothing else. Okay.
It's simple yet complex, and I think this is what you need in the end. You don't need 5 sentences definition in order to define a concept that is so volatile nowadays.
Exactly. You can get a secondary interpretation that it's definition that it's information of value collected about cyber assets of another entity. Both of those exceptions complement one or the other. And how do you get those? Through cyber operations. So there are two bases of the concepts here, okay, that are important to take care. First, information of value. What is the value of that information? So we all know the common space about information is power, okay? We all know that. We all heard that, we understand at a certain point level. But how do you use that power? How do you assign the value of power of that information? How do you know which information costs more or less? So cyber intelligence are experts on actually not caring about how important it is to them, because the value is assigned by a decision maker, by the person that is given the requirement. For you, as an analyst, as an operator, when it comes to cyber, you might not care or think that the request that you're being given, it's, you know, that it's not relevant. But you're not the one that it's judging the value of that information. That the information is coming as a request from a decision maker. Usually it can be a high-level political level or a high-level executive level in a private sector. So value, it's something that cyber intelligence operators do not care. because the value it's been given by the person that it's giving you a request.
And of course, decision makers in this case maybe know best, but they don't have the skills in order to assess the information.
Or maybe they don't know, or maybe they don't know best, but they need to make a decision. So they have a question in their heads, and that blank space, you need to fill it. If he's asking you about what color is the cat of this criminal group lord that appears in a video, for you might be like, what? But for the decision maker, maybe he's looking for something that you don't know. So that piece of little information, the color of the cat, it's pretty important for him, even if it sounds stupid. So at a certain point, that's one of the most important parts of when we come to give the notion of value of information when it comes to cyber intelligence. Is that it means for the operators, it's not those who evaluate the value of the information request. We just do it because for someone down the chain, that information is important enough in order to move resources, professional, complex, and specifically skilled resources that are hard to find just to get that stupid answer. Well, for a lot of people might feel stupid, but it is important for cyber intelligence operators to understand that something that looks stupid for the rest might not be stupid in the end of the line. So that's a really important part. Information of value, but from value from whom? From what? What is the value? Okay, so cyber intelligence operators do not work by themselves, just running around and hacking things by themselves just to figure it out. No, there's always some value to the work, and it's given for the person that it's making the request. Okay, then we're going to skip the part of collected and processed because that's part of what we call the intelligence cycle. Okay, I'm not going to explain the intelligence cycle because it's pretty easy, just Google it, but just to mention it, the intelligence cycle is the process of the entire process in order to develop the product that we talked at the beginning, that report that you're going to be giving, or whether it's in paper or where you're going to have to give it on a verbal basis. Okay, so the intelligence cycle.
I would like to maybe jump in another question because we have many questions prepared for you. And I think you mentioned a very interesting thing so far, and I would like to take you into other directions. What I like the most is that very much intelligence is an art, and whoever knows how to do it will stay in the industry for a while because it's not possible to leave. And the other thing I thought it was interesting, it's how you mentioned that each piece of the puzzle is very important, but for the person who in the end makes that puzzle, and maybe analysts do not understand why every piece is important, but in the end, when putting together all the pieces of the puzzle, they are making much more sense. And of course, in the international world, everybody does it, right? So it is a thing that is not happening from now. It is a thing that's happening from the past as well. As intelligence, it is a legal concept. There is nothing that makes it illegal for any type of country, and so is cyber intelligence. And of course, with the cyber intelligence, we have much more. The intelligence has evolved overall, and it's coming out of the hands of only the intelligence services. If 30 years ago, the intelligence was only the work of intelligence services. Nowadays, everybody with a computer can do cyber intelligence, right? So my question is, how does one measure the effectiveness of a cyber intelligence operations? As you had
that's pretty easy. That's the easiest part of everything in cyber intelligence. Because if you're given that the value of the information is being by the person that's making the request, the only measure of success is that the person that receives the information tells you, great, this was what I wanted.
Okay.
it's the only measure of success on a professional level. You can try to go deeper, you can try to get more information about it, you can try to make the best report, But the guy just asks you for A, not A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Even if you think that he's asking for the entire alphabet, he just asks you for A. So there's a quite thin line about how you thread this entire nil that it comes to give a result for a specific request for a specific person or a specific subject. So you were talking about over there about compartmentalization of information. That's part of the nature of the job. We do not have the full picture, and we live our entire professional lives through the notion that we don't have the entire information. You care about having the entire information? Yeah, I care. If I don't have it, I can do your job. Then go and work in a CERT team. Don't work in Cyberintelligence. Because there's a lot of 99% of the time, you're not going to have the entire information. It's more, we're recollecting information. That's a process of hunting for the information you want. We're not per se analyzing that information. First, you need to get to the request. And if the request, let's go again with the color of the cat. If the color of the cat is the request, you need to answer the color of the cat. The guy doesn't need to know the breed of the cat. The guy doesn't need to know the age of the cat. He doesn't need to know the entire medical history of the cat. He wants the color. So you want to make sure that you have success in this area. Do what you're asked, because you always need to know that there's some bigger picture being played out. And usually when you get a request like this on cyber operations teams, it's a matter of not questioning or trying to go to the deeper niche of the question or trying to interpret it. Is jumping into your environment and start hunting for that information. You can do personal assessment or team assessment within the team, but you don't start by saying, what is this? Yeah. It's a different type of art that involves more, we call it, it's an instinctive act of that some people have it or not. Some operators have it and some not. Some analysts have it and some not. But we refer to it as having teeth and nails. Okay. If you have teeth and nails, you don't care about the depth of the request. And I'm not talking about you being a robot. I'm talking about you actually having, it's not just fun because it's a job, but having that personality, that inspiration of, okay, there's a request, let's jump, let's go. Yeah. There's a lot of time that those information or those requests are not duly processed, whether it's in time and form, just because there's a lot of discussion of what is this important, why this information. Cyber intelligence, especially in cyber operations, you don't ask those kind of things. You go. Yeah. There's an entire team of analysts that it's going to be waiting for you to come with that piece of information and give it to the analysts, whether it's in the intelligence area and counterintelligence or the CERT team that are looking for a threat, whatever. But there's an entire group that already couldn't find that information, and that's why they scale the request to you, a specialized team in order to have that. So that's one part. Compartmentalization of information is part of the bread and butter of these area of businesses. So I just wanted to make, going back to the definition, just to be able to round it up. We said information of value and it's collected and processed. We said collected and processed goes through what we call the intelligence cycle, and that's through cyber operations. And the concept of cyber operations is probably it's the other half of this entire notion. And let me run over here. Cyber operations. We're again basing this definition on the Critical Terminology Foundation. So I just want to read it. It's cyber operations are organized activities in cyberspace to gather, prepare, disseminate, restrict, or process information to achieve a goal. Okay? So we have information of value, organize activities through cyberspace in order to gather, prepare, disseminate that information. Okay, once you have those two, you have the basis for a cyber intelligence group, institution, or also a product. And you get the basis of the art. That is, capturing the information being requested to you through an organized process. Whether that process is offensive in nature or is passive in the sense of like you're just doing open source intelligence, that's beautiful. There's a lot of information in the web, but then you got closed sources. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? When the request involves the fact that, okay, you know what, there are 20 analysts from 3 institutions of intelligence giving a request. Those 30 analysts distributing those, they found some information, but they couldn't find more. Or what the person is making the request wants. So then you get an escalation. And eventually that escalation of level of investigation ended up when other people couldn't do it, it ended up in a specialized group of cyber operations in order to go for it. Those go for it can be done in 2 basic structures. The first structure of those analysis areas are whether it's intelligence. Intelligence is per se the capture of information in order to for the decision makers, as pure as we're talking about it. But you can also have requests from the perspective of counterintelligence, and there's when the thing tends to divert into a more offensive way, because you get from one side the requests of intelligence are for the decision makers, as we said before, but counterintelligence work on the basis of identification, localization, and neutralization of targets. Especially, well, mostly focus on foreign entities or external entities that try to alter.
Can you explain what's the difference between the two, intelligence and counterintelligence? Like
two totally different worlds. It's like, you know, over here, well, you've been living in Chile for a while now, and you come to Santiago. You know how they say that one of the beauties of Santiago is that you can be skiing in the morning and go to the beach in the evening because of the set. Well, that's the kind of difference. That's the kind of difference. Counterintelligence and intelligence are sometimes they actually behave more like enemy adversaries. Let's call adversaries. If you take, for example, the US model, you will find that intelligence, foreign intelligence specifically, it's covered by the CIA, but counterintelligence in the sense of foreign or external threats coming into operating within the state is taken by the FBI. That's the level of separation. We don't want these 2 areas to mix because they're natural adversaries, because one adversary can be within the other one. So yeah, counterintelligence usually has this look at more like the bad guys, but it's not like that. Those are the boogeymans that are born and bred in order to keep the entire system safe, not just the nation. So the entire intelligence system depends on their functionality of a good structure of counterintelligence. So you get these 2 worlds. One is trying to counteract, and the other one is trying to capture information in order to make decisions. Counterintelligence is looking for enemies everywhere. Intelligence is more about the understanding. So 2 different words: decision-making information and localization, identification, and neutralization of targets. Both different words. So you can apply cyber intelligence in both those aspects. And at a certain point, cyber operations tend to become, especially when we're talking about highly volatile and hostile environments where there are social problems, where there are threats from other states or everything, counterintelligence usually within cyber operations tend to take the form of an offensive uh,
Interesting.
capability team, but being applied on a practical level on a daily basis. We're not talking about pen testing or stuff like
Of
that.
course, yeah, that's very different. Going back to the structure of everything, as you were involved into these kind of cyber intelligence operations and managing a team of analysts, what are the guiding principles, or how do you manage a team of cyber analysts in this world, and how does a normal day look like at the office? I'm imagining it's not the usual 9 to 5.
No, it ain't. It ain't. It's a 24/7 work. It doesn't matter what your contract said. Cyber intelligence, especially the area of cyber operations, is a 24/7 work. If someone offers you or you're thinking about getting into this job, forget about going to the office or stuff like that. You need to have a notion that you have to be really happy and smiling and jumping when they call you at 3 a.m. on a Saturday because we have a problem. And the operator need to be, yes, we have a problem. That means I have a hunt going. If the operator answers the phone and it's like, no, can I check this tomorrow and everything? You don't work for this. And it says, go to a SOC, go to anywhere you want. Work in cybersecurity, no problem. But no for cyber intelligence. It's a 24/7 work. And usually on a daily basis, they're not daily basis. Let me put it this way. Let me put it in colors that most of the people in the industry will understand. Let's say you have this trifecta where you always get 3 types of colors or 3 types of teams working in this environment. Okay, you're gonna have a blue team, you're gonna have a red team, and between the both, you're gonna have a purple team that evaluates the behavior of those 2 teams and how they can make improvements or and evaluate the development of each of them. When you have a blue team, you have a SOC. When you have a red team, you get an offensive operations hacking team. When you have a red team, you have a red team that might behave usually on a pen testing ethical hacking basis. Then you have a blue team that needs to defend, and one tries to get past the other and have a laugh at the end of the day of the other group. If you have that trifecta and understand the basic of the colors, defense in blue, attacking in red, evaluation in purple, you will start realizing that when you get to cyber intelligence, when it comes to the point of modeling a group of cyber operations, your requests are not going to be given on the sense of like, hey, is the firewall updated? Do we have all rules well established? What are security parameters for password protection or how our cloud system are protected? That's a question for a SOC, for a blue team. You go to a red team, you go to a cyber operation team, and you're not asking that. The moment you walk through a door with a request for them, you're asking them, how do we break those cloud servers? You don't have a question like that, then go to the blue team. No, don't take time for this. And that makes a huge difference because when we're talking blue or defensive activities, we're talking about a permanent run of checklists. So blue or defensive capabilities are the accomplishment of standards, okay? If you're talking about cybersecurity, you're talking about the property of cyberspace in order to be able to resist, respond, and recover the 3 Rs, of the execution of a threat, okay? Where it is intentional or not intentional. But when you're talking about a red team, you're talking about breaking stuff. And breaking stuff is its own art. but you don't want to go to a point of the minimal level of risk and stuff like that. No, you're not looking for that. You're not looking for a checklist. So what a blue team can do on a rotating level, on taking, for example, let's have in a SOC the monitor of the network with the entire screens and everything, full, having all the ports, you can have visuals and everything, and rotate people on a 24/7 basis, just looking that the system is behaving in a normal way. Okay, that's a structural process. You have certain bases, certain standards that you need to be behaving, and in a checklist you go like, yeah, we're okay in this, okay in this, okay in this. Incident, let's go, let's run the checklist again to be again on a stable basis. The difference with a red team is that a red team is an unstructured process. It's 99% a creative process, not a standardized process. Every single target, every single request, though a lot of them might be approached with the same basis, every target is unique on itself. So it requires a creative process. And in order to have a creative process, you need to create a creative environment. And it also affects the selection of personnel that you're going to be looking for. You might have the best guy from the MIT, the best engineer, the best hacker, and everything that you give them. We have a target. We need to go, and the guy starts writing down to scan the entire target systems and try to find vulnerability that he can expose through a port and everything. And it's going to take him 2 weeks or a week. That doesn't work. It's 100 times more within the profile of a cyber operation red team. The guy that, it's capable of, like, where's the target? You have the address? Yeah. Grab my backpack, load an exploit or whatever inside a pen drive. Let's get the personality out and try to put a pen drive the same day in the hands of someone that will put it within one of the systems and the infrastructure of the target. It's a matter of attitude more than technical knowledge, especially nowadays that most of the knowledge when it comes to mostly basic to mid-level hacking, it's open source. A lot of the best most of the techniques used in cyber operations, you can find it just watching YouTube videos. The level of complexity is scaled through the level of the target. So, of course, if you want to hack, let's say, you want to hack the Ministry of Finances of an X country, okay? But then you have on another level, you want to hack the Ministry of Defense of that X country, okay? The levels of security are going to be plenty different. But guess what? Both of them on their system, but both of them have the same main vulnerability that is exploited by cyber operations on a daily basis. You know which one it is?
Humans.
They both have people.
Yeah.
So that's what we talk about cyber operations and cyber intelligence being the perfect mix between physical space and cyberspace. You can't do good intelligence if you know that the street is where you need to be. Cyberspace is also a street, but it's part of the entire environment where the information is collected. It's not all of it. And cyber intelligence works like a bridge between cyber and physical space. So yeah, you don't have to have the best engineers. It's better to know who knows than actually know it all. In this case, if you don't know something and you realize that your target in this case is bigger than what you can fight, okay, let's go asking around. That's part of the job. It's part of the essence of the job. Capturing knowledge, even if you don't have it, especially if someone else already spent a lot of time and money on getting that knowledge. So yeah, the realization of building a team of cyber intelligence, it also affects a lot of HR. I'm not talking just being good with computers. I'm talking the talent of the personality, whether they are extrovert, introverts, whatever. But when you put them into a job, they just go. And they're not going because there's a salary at the end of the month. They're going because they love the hunt. And that's 99% what you need in a cyber intelligence team. It doesn't work if you don't have that. And once you have them, you need to create an environment that allows them to develop. You put kids like this in a regimen of 8 to 5, 9 to 5 in an office, they're going to leave or they're going to shoot themselves. And you're going to need to realize that you're creating the biggest threat that you can create to an institution of this area. That is having someone with power working over there and not like working over there. How do you give sensitive information to a person that is over there just for the money? If you hire someone that you know he's over there just because he wants the salary, you're creating a huge security breach potential. That is, if the guy is just there for the money, it doesn't matter how good he is. If someone offers him more money, he's gonna jump boats. And he's gonna jump boats with all the information you'll be giving him. So you need to make that cut before you develop your team. You need to select the people that loves the hunt, not the money. Money, sadly, it's an enemy within the industry or the area of exercise of cyber intelligence. And now that people see most of that everybody who works in cybersecurity or whatever get these big salaries and everything, yeah, but most of them they're just running checklists. They're not artists. They're workers. And I don't diminish the work they do. I love it. I love it. I work in CERT I worked in the national CERT before. It's beautiful. It's great people and everything. But it ain't the same as a red team. It ain't the same as a cyber operations team. And damn, it ain't the same as cyber intelligence. Not even close. Not even close.
You can replace the hunt, of course, with a regular 9 to 5 job, even if it's paid more. I think, as you said from your experience, I think that's the key thing that keeps those talents together, like the love for the hunt and the passion of making something out of the box. And I think it's hard to find those people. And this brings me to the next question, of course, because we know that in intelligence, usually the intelligence services are recruiting the right persons to come for the job because they identify them. But how does one start if it wants a career in cyber intelligence? So, for example, somebody that listens to our podcast and is thinking, okay, this looks interesting, I love the hunt. How do I do it? Because usually they don't post their jobs online, or you don't go to with your CV to their office like in a regular job. So
I went with my CV more than 10 times before I got my job. So start by doing that. Start by putting your face in front, go into the building, even if it's only the doorman that answers you, and leave your CV over there. Show interest. So show that for you, the hunt on the place where the hunt is developed is more important than just having a place, because you're not going to be making a name for yourself. You're going to be the rest of the time that you're over there underwater. No one's going to know. It's not something that you can go and talk to your friends in a barbecue on the weekend. It's a whether you think that it's gonna be like, yeah, even if you talk that much, okay, let's think that you talk that much and you think this is a cool job and you're gonna be kind of James Bond. The people is gonna have in their mind when you tell them your friends, oh yeah, he's an intelligence agent. Yeah, go and explain what you do. They're not gonna understand. And 5 minutes later, they're not gonna care. They're just gonna be like, cool, great that you do that. And you're just giving a lot of information that can get you in jail just to try to look cool in front of people that they don't even understand the bottom of it. So yeah, it's not that kind of work. If you want to make yourself like a public figure or want to have a presence within the industry, whether it's cybersecurity, cyber intelligence, cyber defense, whatever you want, this is not the area. This is more about clustering. But you know what? Go and show your face. Go knock on the door Of course, if you're going to the CIA office in Langley, it's going to be a little difficult getting all the way to the door. Or if you're going to Fort Meade, you're not going to even make it past the highway. But you can Google people. You can do scrapping for this, okay? You can do scrapping, okay? You can just do a system of scrapping, get every single email that you can find that says at NSA, and start writing to people. Try to call, get the phone number, get the name of someone at HR, and try to give them and try show interest. Show interest on the job, not about how much money you pay. And a lot of people think that this might be a cool job, but after a while they'll decide, you know what, it wasn't as cool as I thought it, and it's okay also. It's okay also. That's why it's a process of recruiting, adaptability, and then if you're working on, you start getting into higher places and everything. But yeah, I will say show interest. Make sure that the person that it's running a team like this knows that there's people with interest in working over there. And if you want to do know if you want to know if you have the capabilities, if you want to run into the area and do it, you can do simple exercises to see if you can. Okay, one simple exercises. Let's choose 3 methods of attack. Okay, let's talk basics. Basic, super basics and super fun things. Okay. Try to send an email to all your university or friends or whatever as a phishing, just to try it out. Within 24 hours, you need to have 10 clicks on a phishing that you do. What does that imply? It implies running a server as command and control, renting with your crypto wallet and trying to do everything through VPN, everything secret. And it's just mounting a mail server, nothing else. Just attach and doing the templates and everything. If you're able to do that process quick, fast, and just because you want to run a joke with your friends and see how many of them just click and go and have a laugh with them against in the next barbecue, maybe you have what it takes. Maybe you have what it takes. My first attack ever, no, it wasn't the first one, but the only one I made kind of a mess was I was a kid. I was first year university, and there was this radio show, political radio show that said something that I was first year law school at that point. So you know how wannabe lawyers are. They know it all. They're looking at debates and everything and having their own opinions, even if they haven't even read Machiavelli. So at a certain point, they said something that I didn't like, and I decided, oh, I'm a law student. I know this is wrong what they said, so I'm gonna send an email. And I sent an email to a program, and I didn't have a response. And I thought maybe they didn't look at my email, and I sent another one. And then I sent another one. And then I said 500 at the same time and blew up their freaking mail server. And at the end of the show of that day, they requested politely, because I did it with my name, not to be sending more emails because I just screw up the entire mailing system and server.
That's the start of a cyber intelligence career.
I was in first year university. My first screw up, I made it way before that one. I was 15 when I made my first screw up. But I'm not a hacker. I'm just a guy who loves computers since I was a kid. I studied law first because of family, because I love talking. Intelligence is a matter of like also knowing how to develop a seductive way of talking, where it is to give a speech, to give a class, or just to hold your stand in a meeting when everybody's looking down on you just because you're the crazy little kid in the meeting. And it happens. It happens a lot, especially because the cyber era, we have a generational thing. There are entire full generations that didn't grow up or technologies arrived to them when they were already adults. So a lot of the way they interpret the phenomenon of cyber, it comes uh, from people that not fully understand the technology, and older people. Let's say older. It's not their fault. It's just a change in the entire world that hit us. So some of us were born with that technology in our hands. I started with an Atari, first connection in Chile in the 90 to internet. Yeah, I started as a kid with those technologies, but those who were already adults and start making decisions about this matter and didn't grow up with this technology, there's a huge generational gap that it's a problem on the understanding of the phenomenon. So sometimes you give an idea that it's normal people that live within this environment, but for other people might sound a little bit crazy or too out there. And you got to find your way through.
Speaking about technology, Juan Ignacio, how do you think this will evolve? You see, we are now in a war between Russia and Ukraine. We are now in a geopolitical competition between America and China. So we are in a let's say in a geopolitical stake with more tension than in the last 20 to 30 years since the end of the Cold War. And of course, in times of geopolitical tension, the intelligence and also all the technologies are evolving. So nowadays, if we see, we are seeing like a complete growth in cyber attacks and in cyber intelligence. We have seen large attacks that happened in Russia, that happened in the US, successful, and maybe most of them, 90% of them, we don't know nothing about them because they don't appear on TV. But how do you think this phenomenon, cyber intelligence, will evolve in the next 5 to 10 years as the world is becoming increasingly digital and, of course, increasingly vulnerable?
It's not a tough question to answer, but I think the answer doesn't go through giving too much flowers to cyber intelligence. This is the coolest thing. No, it's what if I told you that cyber intelligence is the first art that created cyberspace? So by being the first, it's gonna be the last. Cyber intelligence, literally, the area of cyber intelligence was created the same day as the first computer was made. Cyber intelligence comes way before the notion of cybersecurity. And let me explain this argument because it's something I teach to my students and it's a personal perspective, but I have the argument well solidified in order to be able to make this claim. Okay, so let's go way back. Let's go Second World War, the creation of the first computer. We're talking bomb. We're talking Alan Turing. Then we're talking Colossus. So why did the first computer was created? We're talking about the first computer, not the first general use computer that is ENIAC from the US, but that came after this. Okay, we're talking the first two computers, the first electromechanical and the first electronic per se computer, bomb and Colossus. Why they were created? Why a computer was created? Was a computer created so you can run Word and do your PowerPoints or draw the internet? Was created for that? The internet? The computers? No. Computers were created as a weapon. Computers were created in the middle of the Second World War in order to save the lives of the British. They were desperate. They were getting blitzkrieg every single day over there, and they can hear and see the information going through the radio waves the Nazis were using to communicate with their troops in the field and with the U-2 submarines, but they didn't know what they say. They can listen to it, they can capture it, but they didn't know what it said because those communications were encrypted through the use of the Enigma machine in the case of bomb, and through the use of the Lorentz machine when it comes to uh, Colossus. And so they have a problem. They can capture this signal, but they need to decipher that. And what did they do? They went to Bleachley Park, put a lot of people, a lot of rents, women mostly, that will work over there, pen and paper in hand, trying to decipher through mathematical approach every single signal that they will capture. But they will realize that there's a time frame for the use of this information, that it's 24 hours. If you were able to break the code, that information that you got in that message that you captured that you were able to break only lasted for 24 hours. And the next 24 hours, different encryption key for the next messages. So there's a movie called The Imitation Game. It's pretty dramatic, but pretty beautiful to watch. People can get the reference from that. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is the realization from one of the people that work over there, that the human resource, the human brain, couldn't process the level of information at the speed we needed in order to make the discovery and use of that information valid. Okay, so what happened? What happened was that intelligence services of the UK realized at a certain point that there was a key over there in order to break the communications. That was the fact that we needed minds, we needed professionals that need to be working in this type of problems, and through that they will think that they will get into a faster solution for those problems of being able. So in Bleachley Park, there was a school, the cryptography school of the GCHQ at that point. The intelligence, the MI6, with the Navy over there that was managing they decided to start bringing professors from different universities. We're talking linguists, mathematicians, physics, everybody that could help that had a hand in cryptography. Okay. And let's get all those minds, let's give them people that can run all the variations and equations that they will find in order to be able to decipher this. And they put all these minds together. Remember, who decided to put those minds together was an intelligence agency. Okay? So then a break came. We knew about the Enigma machines, but we never got it. So the British realized that the Germans were using the University of Poland and the professors from there in order to teach them to improve their own cryptography. And they had an Enigma machine over there. So one of those professors decided to, you know what? The MI6 approached me. They're telling me I'm taking you out of Poland if you get a machine, a copy of the Enigma machine. So that's what they did. The MI6 get their hands on an Enigma machine, bring it back to this school in Bleachley Park and tell like these minds that they were joined by them. Also, here's the machine. Now go and break them. And you get two groups, or maybe one group and one person on the other side. Most of the academics, professors over there were trying to decipher both studying the machine, but also developing the entire ciphers that they can run through all this group of people, pen and paper on hand. Okay. And their line of work and the vision was to keep improving, now that we have the machine, our techniques in order to break that and find the key that he used daily. But still, they were not being able, though they were able to reduce the time frame, they still wouldn't able to decipher codes in their entirely within the 24-hour time frame. Okay, so there he goes, the weird guy. Alan Turing, as placed it in the movie or whatever, you can read about the guy. He says, you know what? You're wrong. You're wrong. We're not going to do this with people. Super okay people, but it doesn't matter if we put 2,000 guys over here. We're not going to make it. It's because the human brain cannot process this at the speed we need. So we need a machine to replace people. Turing said, you guys can do it. We cannot do it. We need a machine to do this. And he secluded himself, and instead of trying to work with better ciphers, better way to decipher or better techniques and everything, he started building a machine to replace all the guys that were over there with pen and paper. And he bet that that machine would do the work within the 24-hour framework. And he did it. And he built BOMB. That's the name of the first computer that was able to decipher the Enigma machine. So if we consider that cyberintelligence, I'm gonna reiterate the definition so we can apply it strictly to this part right now. Cyberintelligence, let's go. Information of value collected, processed through cyber operations. We get that information of value. What is the information of value? The information of value is the communications of the Germans through being encrypted through the Enigma machine. So we want what it's in that cipher. The value of that information is limited to 24 hours. Okay, collected and processed. It was collected through the capture of radio wave frequencies. The messages were passing there. It was encrypted, but it was passing through there. The old Wi-Fi captured right there. Collected, but processed. It was processed for one team with human brains, pen and paper. And for the other team or individual was going to be processed by a machine. He created that machine. And the process of creation of that machine was a cyber operation itself.
The first
computers, yeah, computers were built to hack. Computers were not built to make your life easier. Computers were not made in order for you to be able to communicate distances. Computers were not made in order to be able to exchange experience.
Same as the internet.
Computers,
a military weapon, military tool.
In the core, in the basic gene of cyberspace, considered as an electronic medium, being able to process information, transfer it, whatever. In the core, computers, everything you got, your cell phone, the one we're doing over here, in their gene, the most basic gene, they were created as weapons. Weapons for what? Weapons for hacking. Hacking what? Well, in the first case, they were hacking the messages that were encrypted by the Enigma machine. They were hacking that analog database that was being filtered and occluded by the Enigma machine. They were getting access to that information that was on papers on a physical database. So then you got the second computer in the world. If Enigma transmitted tactical information between troops of the Nazis in different places, move right, move left, the enemy is coming in front of you, the enemy is coming behind you, boom. Let's call it a tweeter, 148 characters are the origin. That was how it was going to go the information through. Then you got the notion of strategic information. The strategic information is that goes between the generals in the field and the headquarters of Hitler in Berlin. That's a different story. That's a different type of information. One is giving you orders. The other one has discussions, got appreciations. So that information, because it was more important, was being encrypted by a different machine. It was called the Lorentz machine. Let me put it in simple words. Most of the people over here maybe have seen a picture of an Enigma machine, whether all the complexity it has. You can measure one of the differences in between. The Enigma had 3 rotors that went parallel in different sequences in order to encrypt, while the Lorentz had 9. Okay, that was the level of. It's really basic comparison between the two machines, but just to give a visual notion of the difference for the people if they see a picture of the Lorentz and the Enigma machine. So those strategic messages were way more secure when it comes to cipher capabilities and complexities. So there you go. More complex. We were able to break Enigma, but now we're figuring out and identify another signal with a different type of string that bomb is not able to decipher. Here comes Tommy Flowers, the real beautiful hero of this entire history, because where Turing decided to build this electromechanical system in order to decipher the entire Enigma machine messages, Tommy Flowers decided to use tubes. What is a tube? It's like a light bulb, yeah? Lights up or not, it let energy, electricity pass or not, and it lights up or not. What's that? That's a transistor. Evolved. So the first transistors were used on the second computer ever created. Created to hack the messages being given by through, because it's probably one of the most important concepts that till this day we're talking nowadays, especially with the whole artificial intelligence debate and everything, that it's non-artificial intelligence being ciphered by the Lorentz machine. And they did it. And there's one beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story over there about intelligence, cyber intelligence, and why we're not over here, everybody speaking German in the rest of the world, and why the Nazis didn't conquer everything. It was thanks to our computer, because at a certain point, when Colossus, that was the machine that Tommy Flowers named, that was the first electronic computer per se on their system, one day captured a message, and the message between German command in Berlin and the Nazi occupying forces from France said clearly that the Nazis were absolutely convinced and giving orders to move troops towards Calais, because they thought, and they were convinced, that there's another intelligence story that helped to develop that, but I'm not getting into that one. That was a physical operation that helped to give that notion. But they captured and deciphered this message that the Germans were moved troops to Calais because the Allies moved towards the continent. They're gonna unload their troops in Calais. Guess what happened? Because of that message, they decided Normandy. And because they decided Normandy, the Nazis disappeared. So yeah, cyber intelligence created everything. Cyber intelligence is the root of cyberspace, it's the root of computers, it's the root of everything. So if you dedicate yourself with the passionate guys like Alan Turing, Tommy Flowers, or everybody that had been able to understand the beauty of cyber intelligence, you know you're in a different world, and you know you're playing with the OGs. This is the original art of why computers were created. Computers were created to hack. They were not created to make your life simple. Just go to Twitter and give your opinions, or just go to a porn site and release all your energy or whatever, or to download movies and have a good family time. Computers were created as weapons, and weapons to be applied through the intelligence system. Cyber intelligence is the original gangster in this stuff. Cybersecurity after, cyber defense after. All those concepts new, but cyber intelligence new. Nothing that we'll have here we'll have without cyber intelligence, and just recognizes it's working on the bare bones of cyberspace. It's one of the most beautiful arts that there are, but it's also the one that has the longest history. So you asked me how it's gonna end, how it's gonna go for the first years. Well, let's see. Cybersecurity had a huge impact the past 10 years within the industry and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. Well, cyber intelligence been running since 1943. So good.
Make sure that
Good luck. Good
the-
luck trying to catch up. Good luck trying to catch up.
for
There's
sure.
nothing, absolutely nothing in the world of cyber, nothing that can compare to the art of cyber intelligence, both in time, maturity of the art, and at the same time, we're in the capabilities that a group dedicated to this art can do,
Definitely.
both for good and for bad.
Definitely. And now, as we think that each of us will have at least 10 devices connected to the internet by 2025, from a smartwatch to a smart TV to a smart fridge or even a smart oven, we can think that the vulnerabilities are gonna explode, you know. And as you said, we are in this epocha of cyber intelligence since almost 100 years, let's say 80 something years. And of course, it's beyond what we know and what we read into the newspapers of what's happening in the cyber arena. I think most of it, 90 to 95% of it, we never read about it and we never find out because it's so secret. And it's like you find out about these technologies when it's not intelligence anymore, it's just the cyber operations. So to end this discussion that was very interesting into as an insight into what cyber intelligence actually is, if you can give us as a conclusion a few insights into an operation that was significantly important for you. I know that maybe this is a sensible topic, but yeah, if you can give us some details and as a conclusion to finalize the podcast of today.
Look, as I said before, it's almost impossible to have a conversation of the places that you work, even if, oh, I bought a paperclip. It's, it, it's not good. It's not right to have this type of conversations, even if they might retribute you in a way of like positioning or being a guy associated with a cool story or something like that. It hurts people, it hurts institution when former agents talk about what they actively engage at a certain point or cases. Those kind of discussions can be given in two type of environments: in an academic environment, but it's excluded, or in a discussion within the community. It's There are spaces to have those things, but sadly, a podcast it ain't one of them, and I can just be jailed if I actually do it. Okay, but that doesn't mean I cannot give you cases that I've been involved from academic perspective on the same basis of cyber intelligence. So there's this Swiss company that's called Product. They've been working on cyber intelligence uh, for many years. One of the best colleagues I ever have, in the sense of the notion that they have for both the love of the hunt and how to take the hunt to the next level when it comes to cyber intelligence. They got involved themselves in the investigation of SolarWind attack. I'm not going to remind everybody about the SolarWind attack. It was a really big one. It's probably top 10 within the last 10 years. So whoever wants just can Google it over there. But this company decided at a certain point start checking the IOCs from different analyses that different companies have published on their white papers about the attack of SolarWind. Okay, so through a really detailed and fine work of analysis and hunting, they end up finding a command and control server for that attack,
Hmm.
at least one of them. So when they found it, the server, they decided to go one step forward. If this is hidden here, let's go in. Let's check out what is inside. And they did it. They went inside and looked at it and realized there was entire system over there as a space of competition with exploits preloader users that can just enter and realize the hack preloader exploits everything, command and control associated to be able to run multiple cyber attacks from the same place. It was almost like a club. It was it worked almost like what you would see on a capture the flag tournament, but a real one. So authorized operators will get in there with their users and everything, will be assigned a task, and they will just upload the entire tools that they needed that were already preloaded on the platform and conduct the attack. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So at a certain point, that level of work, it's pure cyber intelligence. It's pure love for a hunt. And the results that they acquire through this, not even on the sense of being able to identify a command and control from an attack like that, but infiltrate it and show the world the real information on the MO that they had. It also allowed to be able to pinpoint one of the most important factors in cyber intelligence, that is probably the most complex factor when we talk about cybersecurity in general. That is the attribution factor. Is who is to blame? It's really different when you have a hack being done for money, when you can actually enclose that problem in a profile of cybercrime. When the profile of the attack goes through state actors, you're in the middle of a really different ballgame depending on the profile of the attacker. And you can realize the profile of the attacker through understanding the methodology of the attack. And that's part of cyber intelligence. Cyber operations need to know their enemy and need to behave like their enemy. So the understanding of patterns in order to be able to identify or at least assign a general level of attribution. Well, difference between a good and a not that good cyber intelligence when it comes to attribution is the finest line that you can draw on how your boss is going to be sitting over there, how secure he's going to feel saying it was this person, or it was this group, it was this. It gives a level of certainty to the person that is making the request that you know what you're doing. That's a level of security of the answer that an executive or a decision maker wants. He doesn't want you to explain to him like, oh, we use this exploit to get through this vulnerability and then we were able to capture this. No, the decision maker doesn't care about that. When you got an incident, he wants to know who hit him. He doesn't care about how it happened and everything. Who hit me? I want heads on a plate, on a silver plate. You don't get something like that. At least if you're not able to pinpoint with, I'm not saying pinpointing for pinpointing, but justifying the attribution concept. It's part of the bread and butter of cyber intelligence, and it's one of the most complex areas. So I'll be sending you the document of that white paper so people can see a white paper being done on a cyber intelligence basis of the art, purely. And I guess it's going to be a good view, and people can compare it to the work when it comes to a white paper on any malware. You're gonna notice there's a different way to approach. One is the technical approach when it comes to a white paper on cybersecurity or malware or whatever, on how it behaves, compromise indicators and stuff like that. Another thing is let's go and behead the command and control of this place. Let's go for the people that are behind it, not go for the malware. Don't be afraid of the malware. Be afraid of the guy that created the malware, but the mind that created the malware. That's the difference. The cybersecurity team will be absorbed, and you will have this reality of the analysis and then reverse engineer malware, whatever. Cyberintelligence do not care about that, besides the information that might be useful for the operation. We are not afraid of any malware because we usually try to use it for ourselves eventually at some point. But we're really worried about the mind that created it, who is behind that, and who is using. That's the difference. So I hope being able to, I'm sorry I wasn't able to talk about cases that I work directly, but I think this case I was able to help on an academic level. It's able to give the people the same idea of what a cyber intelligence operation might look like on an institutional basis.
Thank you, Juan Ignacio. Definitely, SolarWinds was top, I would say top 3 attacks rather than top 10, because they managed to infiltrate so many of the US institutions and companies and managed to enter at that level. I think I think it means that they are definitely a state actors, and managing to hack back into the command and control center of that state actor and having access to their tools, that's an interesting feat. So thank you for giving me insight into this operation that we've been associated with from an academic level, and I'm pretty sure that on your personal experience, you have many more interesting operations that you cannot disclose in a podcast, and this is perfectly okay, and everybody understands. I would like to extend my gratitude for accepting to come into the podcast of the Romanian Cybersecurity Cluster of Excellence, who is also interested into understanding more of the cyber intelligence spectrum and even evolving its capabilities in this respect. So, and it was always great to discuss with experts from the field like you, and hopefully we will manage to have you back on the podcast to discuss more about the evolving nature of cyber intelligence. Thank you, Juan Ignacio.
Thanks, Felix, for having me.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.